Meanwhile, the Republicans are pretty silent this week, but next week, the party's biggest party will take place less than 2 hours from Rockford.
Yeah, the Milwaukee hosts the Republican National Convention starting Monday. And for the third straight presidential election cycle, John Cabello will be heading to the convention as a Donald Trump delegate. The 90th District State Representative says what excites him most about this year's convention is finding out who the vice presidential pick will be. I asked him which name coming out of the former president's mouth for that choice would make him smile the brightest.
Tim Scott. He's a nice guy. And, you know, he seems like he knows what's going on, but he's got a lot of good choices to pick from. And you never know. He can still throw a curveball. That's a lot of the way that President Trump is. He likes to throw those curveballs. So there may be somebody that nobody even thought about.